Is it a dead market? I think so. Evil Dead, Walking Dead, Beetlejuice, and Winchester Mystery House. We're going to be talking about all those today, from the overall market to Stern, Spooky, and Barrels of Fun. This is this month's Pinball Market. All right, let's get over to the overall market. I want to give Ted Finley a giant shout out and thank you from pinballprices.com. He sends over me the data for the overall market, plus points out some of the interesting inclines and declines. And I really appreciate that from his end, because he's not only tracking Pinside, but he's doing eBay, Facebook, a bunch of different numbers, Mr. Pinball. So he has a really amazing finger on the pulse when it comes to the used market. Overall market, EMs, this is anything pre-66, down 7%, with 132 sold to date. When we last did this in August, they were down 2% with 112 sold. Early solid state, this is anything from 81 or before. This is down 14% with 108 sold, 13% in August with 83 sold at that point. Alphanumeric, these are your fun houses and such, not the remake though. They're up 9% with 55 sold. They were up 12% in August with 45 sold. Golden Age DMDs, you know them, you love them. Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness, and such is down 6% with 85 sold. There was only 5% down with 73 sold back in August. Modern DMD down 4%. These are your Lord of the Rings, your Trons, your Simpsons pinball parties. It's down 4% with 59 sold. It was only down 1% in August with 42 sold. And LCDs, you know them, you love them. They're all these right here. They are down 0% with 272 sales on the used market. It was down 1% in August with 220. Overall, used sales are down with only 711 sold in 2025. For 2024, they had sold 1158. We're not done with the end of the year yet. We still have the rest of November and December, but it's a possibility that we sell another 200 per month, but considering LCDs have only sold 272 for the full year, it's kind of hard to believe that it might catch up. Flipping Out Pinball sponsors our content. We want to give a great big shout out to Zach and Nicole Many. If you want those new in box or used, like we're talking about today, hit their website, flippingout.com, flippingoutpinball.com. They will hook you up with some amazing deals. We love Zach and Nicole Many over there. All right, let's move on to Stern. Speaking of deals, Walking Dead comes out here shortly, depending on when you watch this episode. We're going to start with what's trending down. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pro is holding steady at 0%, with its average at 5,500, but 2 have sold in the last month for 4,000 even. So we're going to see these declining really rapidly quick for their average. Foo Fighters Premium still on a steady decline of 1% over the last couple of months, with the average at 7,400. One selling as low as 6K and one as high as 9,000. So we're seeing quite the gap there on those. X-Men LE, it's on a steady decline. It has been over the last couple months as well, losing 5% and its average at 10K. But here's the thing, LEs are sitting right now, but the only ones that are selling were at 7,800 and 8,800. So these are dropping in price. It's a really, really cool game, and an LE at that price is a steal. And last but not least, Walking Dead LE. This is the original, not the remake. The original is down 16% since the beginning of the year. It was at a high of 10,500 back in November 2024. Right now, the current average is 8,800, with LEs selling as low as 6,900. That is quite the deal. If you're looking for an amazing game at a great price, gobble these up right now while the remake is coming out, because it is going to push down that price for a little bit longer. It's only the high it's sold for this whole year is 9,400. So let's talk about the up. Ghostbusters, this seems to be a game that everyone wants right now. Everyone's loving that. Ghostbusters Pro is steady at 7,000, but one just sold for 8,300. It was modded out with a topper as well, so take that with a grain of salt. And Austin Powers, of all the games, is up 19%. Once again, take this with a grain of salt, because the average is 4,100, but the last 2 have sold. One was at 4,500, not modded or anything like that. But the 5300 was fully restored, hence the salt. Just a quick thank you to the Patreon. If you want to support us, you can hit us up at patreon.com/loserkid. Let's move on to Barrels of Fun. They are a relatively new company, so it's hard to keep a really close track since their games have only been out for about 3 years now. But down is Doom by 5%. That's from the new inbox price. You're buying these at 11.6. The average right now is about 11,000. So that's not a really big hit considering it's new in box, where we're seeing 10 to 20% on new in box. But it is something to see if you're looking for a Doom. There are a couple in the secondary market. This game is in high demand and its run might get cut short. So keep an eye of that. That might help drive this price up. Labyrinth has dropped on average from 1100 to 9500 over the last year, making that a 14% drop. A handful of these sold in the last month or so around 7,400, but also as high as 10K. And don't forget, if you are looking for a Labyrinth or if you're looking for a Dune, now might be the time, because if you own these games, doesn't matter if it's you bought them new in box or secondary market, you get put in for that drawing for their free game that is coming up next. So there is a Winchester Mystery House they're going to raffle off only to the customers that own their games. Up, speaking of Winchester Mystery House, pre-orders are definitely up at the moment, with people trying to sell their spots from anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000. That's more than what some of the modern Stern Pros are going for right now. So this game is highly in demand. With only 525, it is going to be interesting to see where the final price of this starts panning out the next year. Let's move on to Spooky. With their new release, Beetlejuice, just on the horizon, I thought it'd be interesting to see what the values are going for with Spooky games on the used market. Down right now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has dropped on average from 8,700 to 7,700 over the last year, making that a 13% drop. Last handful have sold around 7,500, with one as high as $8,000. Now, the one, if you own this game, you might want to be sitting down, or you might just want to turn off this video altogether because you might not want to hear this. If you own an Ultraman, they have dropped on average from 6,000 to 5,000, making it a 17% drop. That is not the rough news. The rough news is the $6,000 game that just sold was because it was new in box. It had never been opened. The used, $3,500. That is an insane price for a modern game. So if you like the Halloween layout, or you like Ultraman, this might look set pretty next to your Godzilla for $3,500. Spooky does have some on the upper end though, so let's talk about what is looking up in the future. Rick and Morty is holding strong with its average at $8,900, sells around about 9,000 or slightly higher at 9,250, putting it on average at a 3% increase over this last couple of months. And last but not least, the game that everyone has been hyping and it's insanely going higher and higher and higher, is Evil Dead is still climbing. This game originally sold at the base price of $10,000. Average right now is at $14,900, with games selling as high as $16,500 and as low as $14,500. That's a 4% increase over the last couple months, and quite the amazing feat for Spooky Pinball and pinball in general because of the way the market's been recently. Before I sign off, I want to just remind you, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate your support. That's the best way to do it, and share the content that we put out there. We'll see you next month.